the whole parcel, no.
Okay, you're going to break up the
It's
parcel?
just on the water tower.
Okay, so you're going
It
to break up the parcel?
that does not preclude it from any other municipal use later on.
Okay.
Sir.
Bob O'Brien, 18 Devons Road. How much land is involved with this? And is it zoned for commercial or residential or?
Mr. Pierce.
When they put the antennas on cell towers, they also need at the base of the tower a power unit, which has some of the electronics in it, but also has the emergency power unit in it. So there's a small structure or an area that's fenced in at the base of the tower, so they don't take up much room. There's only just the antennas on the top, but at the base you will see structures. So there will be some structure building at the base, but it's not a huge thing. It's not like a garage or anything like that. It's an electronics box and a power unit. Is that what your question was? What else is going to be there?
Well, I have lousy hearing anyway, but my hearing aid takes the night off, so I can't hear too well. But I'm wondering how much acreage there is, and is it the town owns it, but could they sell it or can they develop it commercially? Besides on the tower, having a tower up there.
Well, I think right now they got the water tower on it, and one of the Board of Selectmen could correct me if I'm wrong, but they're probably going to hang on to that municipal land. How many acres is it?
What I'm looking to find out is
48? There's approximately 40 acres there.
40 acres?
Yes. This is actually the old school property, so we'll probably hold on to it.
I was trying to determine what the value is if the town went around and sold it to a contractor, they could develop residential, or what the tax situation would be. Instead of, that's quite a bit of land.
Once again, that does not preclude us from doing so or even subdividing it, but currently what it is the water tower is included within this parcel, so in order to reference it, we have to reference the entire parcel.
Mr. Rowe.
Dana Rowe, 61 Adams Street. Is this town-owned land, or is this, I thought this was school land?
School, well, it's school is town. It is town-owned land. It was turned over to care, custody, and control of the Board of Selectmen how many years ago? Maybe 4 or 5 years ago?
But this shows the
About 4
whole
or 5 years
40
ago.
acres, right?
It comes under the jurisdiction of the Board of Selectmen currently. It is municipally owned land. It was originally a school site.
Further discussion? Seeing none, this requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. I declare it a 2/3 vote. Article 18, Mr. Dardino. Mr. Harris, Article 18.
Mr. Moderator, I move to transfer from free cash the sum of $15,680 to pay prior year's bills as specified in Article 18 as printed in the warrant. This requires a 4/5 vote.
We have the motion. Does the Board of Selectmen wish to make a recommendation? Mr. Harris.
Board of Selectmen recommends.
Does the Finance Committee wish to make a recommendation? For those who couldn't hear, the Finance Committee recommends. Discussion. It's prior year unpaid bill, so it requires a 4/5 vote of town meeting. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Mr. Dardino, Article 19.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Mr. Moderator, I move to make non-substantive clerical amendments to the Code of the Town of North Reading General Bylaws by renumbering and relocating Chapter 90 Youth Services Committee to Chapter 198 Youth Services Committee, as specified in Article 19 as printed in the warrant.
We have the motion. Does the Board of Selectmen wish to make a recommendation? Mr. Dardino.
Board of Selectmen unanimously recommends.
Does the Finance Committee wish to make a recommendation? No action required on the part of the Finance Committee. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 20. Mr. Vino.
Mr. Moderator, I move to raise and appropriate the sum of $275,000 for the purpose of funding retirement obligations for town employees, as specified in Article 20, as printed in the warrant.
Does the Board of Selectmen wish to make a recommendation? Mr. Vino.
The Board of Selectmen recommend.
Does the Finance Committee wish to make a recommendation? For those who couldn't hear, the Finance Committee recommends. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 21. Mr. O'Leary.
Mr. Moderator, I move to transfer from ambulance revenue to the fire department the sum of $20,000 to fund the purchase of computer equipment and related software to improve EMS operations, and further to appropriate the sum of $230,000 for the water department, of which $50,000 shall be appropriated for developing an additional well at the Central Street location, and $180,000 shall be appropriated for upgrading and making improvements to the Central Street station and related monitoring equipment, and as funding therefore to borrow said sums in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 7, or any other enabling authority, and to authorize the Treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, to issue bonds and notes therefore as specified in Article 21 as printed in the warrant.
We have the motion. Does the Board of Selectmen wish to recommend? Mr. O'Leary.
Board of Selectmen unanimously recommend.
Does the Finance Committee wish to make a recommendation? Mr. Kelleher. And for those who couldn't hear, the Finance Committee recommends. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 22, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Moderator, I move to pass over Article 22.
Motion to pass over. Does the Board of Selectmen wish to make a recommendation? Mr. Harris.
Board of Selectmen moves to pass over.
For the Finance Committee, Mr. Mastacusa.
The Finance Committee also would like to recommend to pass over this, although we wouldn't like to do it all that easily. This stabilization fund is a key component of our bond rating. If our bond rating declines based on what Moody tells us it is, it will increase our cost of borrowing. If we increase our cost of borrowing, that means there's less money for the operating funds. So it's, at some point, we got to determine a mechanism to fund this account to keep pace with our operating budget. As a percentage of our operating budget last year, if we were to maintain that percentage this year, we should have added $84,000 to the stabilization fund this year. We didn't do it, so we're falling further behind. That could lead to our bond rating declining, which would increase our cost of borrowing, which will decrease the amount for the operating funds. Just think about it.
Mr. Kirby.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I would like to expand on what Mr. Mastacusa said just briefly. I would ask folks to keep in mind that we also passed over Article 15 moments ago around funding the Retirement Trust Fund. It's important to note that it's not that we don't have the obligation, we don't have the money. We don't have the money with respect to the stabilization fund, and we also talked earlier this evening, I think it's worth keeping in mind, around a bonding program related to the sewer expansion of $40 million. So I do think it's, I would echo Mr. Mastacusa's sentiment that we have to find a way to make this a non-discretionary item. We're 20% below the target that's been established in terms of what the stabilization fund should contain.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 23. Mr. Vino? No. I'm sorry, Mr. Pierce.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town amend the code of the Town of North Reading zoning bylaws as specified in Article 23 as printed in the warrant, and further that the non-substantive changes to the numbering of this bylaw be permitted in order that it be in compliance with the numbering format of the Code of North Reading.
We have the motion. Does the Board of Selectmen wish to make a recommendation? For those who couldn't hear, the Board of Selectmen recommends. Does the Finance Committee wish to make a recommendation? No action required on the part of the Finance Committee. Mr. Pierce.
Mr. Moderator, this basically, last year we passed the 43D, which is the expedited permitting bylaw, and that is a bylaw that was passed. It primarily affects the permitting for any commercial development that will happen on the remainder of the Berry property. It's very important. It got us some money that allowed us to upgrade the permitting software for the town of North Reading. What this particular article does is simply insert that 43D into the appropriate places in the town bylaw, so that as that permitting is required, the 43D impact shows up in the proper places in the bylaw. And what this does is put those in.
Further discussion? Seeing none, this is zoning, so it requires 2/3. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 24. Mr. Dardino.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town amend the code of the Town of North Reading zoning bylaws, Article 14, signs, by adding a new section 280.0 as specified in Article 24 as printed in the warrant, and further that non-substantive changes to the numbering of this bylaw be permitted in order that it be in compliance with the numbering format of the Code of North Reading.
We have the motion. Does the Board of Selectmen wish to make a recommendation?
The Board of Selectmen recommends.
No action required on the part of the Finance Committee. Mr. Pierce for the CPC? No. All set. Okay. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 25.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town amend the code of the Town of North Reading zoning bylaws, Article 14, signs, Section 200-80.N, as specified in Article 25, as printed in the warrant, and further, that non-substantive changes to the numbering of this bylaw be permitted in order that it be in compliance with the numbering format of the Code of North Reading.
We have the motion. Does the Board of Selectmen wish to make a recommendation? Mr. O'Leary.
The Board of Selectmen, on a vote of 3-2, does not recommend this article. We'll get into that a little bit later. I'll defer to the CPC.
I'm going to guess the Finance Committee is no action required. Mr. Pierce for the CPC.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. This particular article does not, I think one of the issues that the Board of Selectmen had is they were afraid that there are some existing neon signs that say open or closed or things like that, that this particular article would eliminate, or that it would affect some of the businesses on Route 28. It does neither of those things. This only applies to the local and the general business district, especially our historic district. And we put this in there because we don't think that a proliferation of neon signs belongs in the historic district. There are a couple of there now, and there's a couple of areas in the general business district where they've started to expand. And since it's residential that abuts all of these properties, I really don't think that allowing huge amounts of neon signs, especially ones that are on for all hours of the night, next to residential properties is a good idea. So we recommend that you vote in favor of this article. It doesn't take away